I casually asked how much we had in savings at home. My parents' faces immediately changed, looking at me warily. Why are you asking this? Seeing their expressions, I swallowed my words. The next day, they called my cousin over. Right in front of me, they signed an agreement to give him our property. They warned me, girls will eventually get married, and once daughters are married, they're like spilled water. Your cousin will take care of us in the future, so don't think about getting any money from us. I didn't cry or make a fuss. I just looked at the 8 million that had just hit my bank account and sighed. Dad, Mom, I respect your decision. My parents always told me growing up that once I got married, I wouldn't have to worry about them. They'd often say they didn't want me coming back to bother them. I always interpreted it as them not knowing how to express their love. I thought they meant they wanted me to have a good life without worrying about them. After all, being their only daughter, I never imagined my parents would guard themselves against me. But today, I found out I won 10 million in the lottery. After taxes, I had 8 million left. My first reaction to this windfall was to share it with my parents. Before telling them, I casually asked, Mom, Dad, how much savings do we have at home now? I hadn't even finished saying, I won the lottery, when my dad cut me off, glancing at me suspiciously. Why do you ask? I couldn't stand his look, like I was a thief, and I got a bit mad, unable to hide my anger. Seeing this, my mom chimed in, why is a girl like you asking this? Our savings are not for you to manage, and even if we die, no inheritance will go to you. I didn't want to accept it, hoping they were joking. I responded in a joking manner, Dad, Mom, what are you talking about? I'm your only daughter. If you don't leave it to me, then who? But my mom hit me with some harsh truth. We're not stupid. Once daughters get married, they're out. Why would we leave money to an outsider? Our money will go to your cousin in the future. At the end of the day, men are the backbone of a family. A cold splash of reality hit me. I wanted to say more. My dad slapped me hard, making my head buzz. You ungrateful daughter, asking all these questions. Are you hoping for my death? Let me be clear. You're not getting a penny. I realized they were serious, not joking. Holding back my tears, I questioned them. If you think having a daughter is so useless, why didn't you have a son instead? My dad's face twisted in anger as if he'd been stabbed. My mom glanced at him awkwardly, then hit me hard on the back with a rolling pin. My back was on fire, and I curled up in pain. But there was no sympathy on her face, just disappointment. What nonsense are you saying? We raised you, and now you're grown and thinking about our money. In frustration, I went to my room and locked the door. They continued yelling outside, and the insults from my own parents cut deep. All my life, my parents would sometimes say how they wished I were a boy. I sorta knew they wanted a son, but over the years, I thought they'd let it go. At least, being their only child, they should love me. I stopped listening to the noise outside and looked at the 8 million in my account again. I hesitated but decided not to tell them yet. I didn't expect the next day, they'd call over my cousin Oliver and my aunt to transfer the house we currently live in to Oliver as his marital home. Our house isn't huge, but it's just the right size with 2 rooms, enough for the 3 of us. I asked my parents, if you give him the house, where will we live? My dad replied angrily, your mom and I will still live here, but you'll move out sooner or later. What's the difference if you move out a bit early? I got the hint, they wanted me out. I glanced at Oliver, who was lying on the couch, absorbed in his game like a child. Nearing 30, yet he acted like a kid, throwing a fit when he didn't get his way. He slammed his phone on the glass table with a loud bang. He yelled impatiently at us. So what's the deal? Am I getting the house or not? Hurry up, you're messing with my game points. My dad practically groveled. Oliver, don't worry, it's your house. Just gotta call me dad in the future, okay? Oliver looked at my dad with disdain, unwilling to call him dad. It was only after my aunt gave him a look that he grudgingly said, okay, got it, dad. My dad, seeming drunk on this so-called happiness, laughed and merrily looked at Oliver with more love in his eyes. Without hesitation, he picked up the pen to sign the property transfer agreement. I snatched the pen, yelling, if you sign today, we're done as father and daughter. Oliver, watching my outburst, got excited. Using the same tricks from when he was little, he butted up to my dad. What's the point of a daughter, Dad? I'll take care of you in the future anyway. In no time, my dad was completely won over by Oliver's constant dad. He had my mom and my aunt hold me down, and gleefully went to sign the papers himself. Turns out that desire for a son had always been this strong in my dad. I couldn't understand why a son calling you dad was so much better than a daughter. Was the son calling you dad going to spit out some gold? But I knew clearly that when I called him dad, I could literally give him a piece of gold. Too bad, he wasn't going to get that luck. In the past, I'd argue with my parents about this nonsense, but with 8 million now, I found it beneath me to fight. However, some people, they want everything. My aunt looked me up and down. Emily, you've gotten even prettier over the years. Since Oliver's got a house now, but is a bit short on dowry, why don't you help a bit? I rolled my eyes and firmly said, I'm broke. My aunt pressed on. If you don't have money, why don't you marry someone rich? I've lined up some big shots for you. Take a look. She pulled out a stack of photos from her bag, but the men weren't lookers, or were so old they were ready for a nursing home. I snorted. Aunt, my uncle's been gone for a while now. Since those people are so great, why don't you just pick a few yourself? Others would compliment you for still having charm. Oliver popped up and slapped me hard. You jerk. Who said you could talk to my mom like that? I'm gonna beat you to death. My parents stood by, indifferent, especially my dad, who looked proud, thinking, that's my son, strong as ever. I glared at my parents. I'm your only child. Do you really want to marry me off to these people in the photos? My mom showed some emotion. Just as she was about to speak, my dad cut her off. When we say marry, you marry. Why all the fuss? If you don't, where would my son get his bride price from? Mom didn't dare say more. Clearly, talking through this wasn't going to work. Seeing the situation, I realized I might actually get beaten to death by these crazies and a mad dog. I hadn't even spent the 80 million yet. I couldn't die here. I glanced at the clock on the wall. It was the busiest time on the street. In a flash, I dashed out the door. I'm athletic, and I run fast. Compared to Oliver, who's a whopping 280 pounds, I'm much quicker. Before long, I left them behind. All the way, I shouted, my dad's cheating with my aunt, and my mom caught them. Yelling murder might just make the crowd scramble away from us, but shouting juicy gossip, I was sure the gossip-loving crowd would clear a path for me. Oliver and my dad hadn't caught on yet. A few neighbors were already drawn by my yelling, what's up? Tears streaming down my face, I sobbed, my dad's cheating on my mom with my aunt, and now they want to give our house to my cousin. All tired from shouting, I stopped by a supermarket and got a megaphone. After recording my voice, I borrowed a small electric scooter. Riding along, I played my recording. My dad's cheating with my aunt and plans to give our house to my cousin. Folks, please be fair. Once I was satisfied, I sat down in a busy restaurant. The megaphone kept playing. Customers in the restaurant shot me odd looks. The lady boss recognized me, looked at me a bit sympathetically. Emily, it's just chicken leg rice. It's on me today. I chuckled and shook my head. No need. I got cash, and today I'll pay you 10 times over. Saying it, I transferred the money over. Probably, seeing I wasn't mad, but smiling after such a mess, the lady boss thought I'd gone nuts due to the shock. She sighed quietly and walked away. After I finished eating, my dad and the crew finally came around. Slow, weren't they? I was getting tired of waiting. My dad's face was an angry shade of green, ordering, Emily, turn that megaphone off now. He tried explaining to the crowd that he hadn't been cheating. The real drama was about to start. I was truly feeling resentful. Pointing to the fresh slap marks on my face, I wailed, people, look at this injustice. Today my dad's transferring the house deed to my cousin. I objected, so he beat me, then threatened to kill me if I blocked him again. As gasps erupted from the crowd, they pointed fingers and judged harshly. What kind of person is he? Even a tiger doesn't eat its cub. Why give the house to the nephew and not your own daughter? Clearly an affair if I've ever seen one. Dad loved saving face, and this public shaming was crushing him. So, he used Mom as a shield. Mom explained in his defense, he hasn't been cheating. Emily is just unhappy with us giving the house to the cousin, so she's spreading rumors. Neighbors who knew us scoffed at them. As far as we know, Emily is your only daughter, so why not leave the inheritance for her, rather than the nephew? Dad huffed, what's the point of a daughter? She'll just belong to someone else eventually. This sparked outrage, everyone ganging up against him. Oh my god. That mindset is from my great-grandmother's era. Weren't you born from your mother? A jerk who only thinks with his lower half. Dad was the kind of person who hated being criticized. The more you talked back, the more he'd argue. He got defensive. So what? It's my house. I'll give it to whoever I want. Who are you to meddle? Now everyone knew he would rather hand the house to a nephew than to me, his own daughter. My goal was reached. I felt no need to bicker further. I clearly asked using the megaphone, as I said earlier, once you give the house to Oliver, I'm no longer your daughter. I'll ask one last time. Are you sure you want to do this? Without even glancing at me, Dad replied, yes. I continued, folks, witness this. My dad officially disowns me. From now on, regardless of whether he or Mom lives or dies, it's not my concern. My duty is just to pay a little support when they're old. Isn't that right? Everyone looked at my parents like they were idiots. Emily graduated from a prestigious university, She's pretty, and has a great job. If I had a daughter like her, I'd be over the moon. They must be crazy. Emily's cousin looks like a total idiot, drooling just trying to speak. How's he supposed to support anyone, let alone his own mother? And yet they think he'll take care of them. Looking around, I saw several people filming and snapping pics. Well, there's my evidence. Next time they tried to shake me down, the internet would remind them they'd disowned me. Before leaving, I had a bit of mischief in mind. Dad said any man who called him dad would get the house. Before you knew it, he had a swarm of new sons. Seeing Dad swarmed by sons lifted my mood. Dad, no need to thank me for all the sons I got you. Once it was over, I used a part of my money to buy a 3,000 square foot condo in the city center. That was a dream home for me. 10 more years on my old salary, before I could ever afford it. I worked hard all this time, hoping to give my parents a good life. Now, I only needed to work hard for myself, which wasn't too bad. The video of the argument with my parents went a bit viral. Seemed they started live selling, riding the wave of publicity. If I'm not wrong, that's probably Oliver's idea. He often live streams himself playing games, but is really bad at it and usually can't handle the insults, so he quits broadcasting. He's not willing to go out and work. He's fantasizing about becoming an overnight sensation and making a fortune. This little viral argument video probably makes him think he can make a living off the internet again. My parents' live stream has a decent number of viewers, but many are just there to mock them. Netizens ask why they're selling goods if their nephew is supporting them. My dad's face turns red. That's my son. I'm just helping him earn some money for his dowry. What's wrong with that? But most viewers just watch and don't buy anything. My dad talked himself hoarse, but only sold a few items by the end of the night. A few days later, there was a video of Oliver hitting my dad on the street, uploaded online. Apparently, Oliver had gotten a girlfriend and spent all his money on her. When he ran out, he came to my dad for more. My dad did have some savings at first, but Oliver was like a black hole for money. Oliver had long been accustomed to just asking my dad for cash. In the video, Oliver is seen cursing my dad and kicking him, saying, "You think I'll be your son if you don't have money? You'd better be my grandson." My dad, pushing 60, couldn't withstand the kicks from a 200+ pound guy, and fell to the ground, unable to move. If not for a kind person calling the police, my dad might have been beaten to death. Despite the drama, they still attracted a lot of attention. Some netizens started sympathizing with my dad, but soon enough, they felt sorry for sympathizing with someone like him. The person who called the police spoke out. "Don't waste your sympathy on him. He deserved it." I called the police to help him, and he turned on me, accusing me alongside that pig of attacking him. If it weren't for the surveillance footage, I couldn't have cleared my name. This family is stupid and mean. The internet exploded, flooding their live stream with insults. During one live session, someone asked if they regret cutting ties with their own daughter. My dad, with tired eyes, scolded, "I should have just suffocated her at birth. A waste of money raising her all these years. If I'd used that money on Oliver, he'd be married by now." Despite what he said about spending money on me, I worked and studied from high school to pay for my own tuition and living expenses, because they always said we were poor. It wasn't until I saw how they lavishly spent money on Oliver that I realized they weren't poor when it came to him. When I asked for something, I got scolded and told Oliver was a guest, and I shouldn't compete with him. In theory, I did use some of their money, but not much. And if it were a lot, I should have paid it back by now. Since starting work, I've given them half my paycheck. I even bought the house after I got a job. The netizens were furious about his senseless remarks. My dad even became a hot topic online. People came from all around to criticize him. The insults made him famous. You could say they became notorious from their shamelessness. I stopped paying attention to them and quit my job to start my own business. One day, a group stormed into my company, causing a scene. "Someone got heavy metal poisoning from your products. We want compensation." Like that's my problem. I'm just a seller. Go ask the boss. A shrill female voice chimed in. "Hurt my son, and I'll kill you." It seemed like a family reunion. My dad recognized me. "Emily, what are you doing here?" But soon he smirked and showed off his fur coat. "See how well I'm doing? You were a fool to cut ties with me. You could have had a share of my fortune instead of scraping by." My secretary wanted to stop him from being rude, but I waved her off. I teased back, "You should thank me. Without me, would you be famous so soon?" His face changed colors, pointing at me, speechless. Oliver pushed him aside. "Old man, stop talking so much. We're here on serious business. Emily, bring out your boss for compensation. Your company's food nearly killed my dad." I chuckled inside. "I personally oversee every product in this company. There's no chance of any issue. Anyone else, and I might need time to investigate. But not my dad and Oliver. I know them better than anyone. Call the cops right away. They visibly panicked, including the one who had just been crying and shouting for justice. No need for cops. Just want some compensation to help my dad. I don't want to make a big fuss. The more they didn't want attention, the more I gave it to them. For myself and for the company. Oliver, enraged. Emily, who do you think you are? We're looking for your boss. The secretary stepped in. Emily is our company's owner. It's her decision to call the police. Oliver was stunned, turning from disbelief to shock. Are you kidding? Ha! Even my dad couldn't believe it. He tried bowing to my secretary. You got it wrong, right? She's the daughter who cut ties. No way she's the boss of your big company. Come on now, a woman as a boss. She's gotta be someone's mistress, right? No big deal. Just pay up and we'll leave. And there he is, my own father, more willing to think I'm someone's plaything than acknowledge that as a woman, I can hold my own just as any man. My secretary seemed shocked too, finding it hard to believe a father would degrade his daughter this way. She sympathetically looked at me as she again introduced me firmly. Emily, our company's founder. My dad looked like he got hit by a truck, staggering a few steps. Meanwhile, my aunt quickly changed her tune. Oh, it's your own company. Oh, the fuss we made. I always knew Emily would make it big. Now she's a boss. Let's not involve police, given we're family. When severing ties with me, why didn't they say we were family? When plotting to take advantage of my wealth, why not family then? It's sickening. My aunt frantically signaled me with her eyes to warn me, but I pretended not to see. I asked my secretary to call the police for me. The guy whose dad got poisoned and is still in the hospital heard we were gonna call the cops. He just straight up bailed and spilled everything. You guys told me to act it all out, said nothing could go wrong. Now that the cops might get involved, I'm out. Oliver saw him trying to leave. In a flash, he flipped out like a total nutcase, who couldn't keep his emotions in check. Leave? I'll beat you to death, Oliver shouted. No one from the company stepped in to stop him. My dad and aunt even thought the guy had it coming, didn't bother to intervene either. But slowly, the guy stopped fighting back. Just lay there, not moving a muscle. Then they started freaking out. My aunt rushed over to block Oliver. Stop, you might kill him, she said. I certainly didn't want a big mess like that happening at my company. Soon, an ambulance and cop cars rolled up. Oliver still tried to pin it on me, but too bad for him. The place was loaded with cameras. He couldn't weasel his way out of it. This time, Oliver was looking at criminal charges. No way he'd dodge prison. But here's the thing. Most people in the world love money more. The guy who got beat up wrote Oliver a forgiveness letter. Word on the street was my dad forked out a bunch of cash to get him to sign it. Even sold the house he gave to Oliver. Now, their whole family was crammed into my aunt's shabby 30 square meter place. Even then, they kept on streaming and lied through their teeth during the live stream. They put on quite a show, acting all emotional. We cut ties with Emily because we found out she was being kept. And it was too embarrassing. I'm ashamed of having a daughter like this. Have to hand it to my dad. His acting deserves an Oscar. They even put out a few high-def pics of me getting into a fancy car for more impact. This kind of juicy gossip really grabs people's attention. A Maybach, what now? Suddenly feels like what that old guy said was true. I mean, how could Emily afford a Maybach with just her job? Their viewership numbers hit the roof. They watched the screen, barely holding in their laughter, but didn't take long before their scheme got exposed. Videos of them causing trouble at my company got leaked. Some nosy netizen checked it out legally, confirming I actually own the company. No lover of the boss nonsense. A bunch of folks finally snapped out of it, but there are always those haters. Where'd Emily get the money to start a company? Probably still from whatever sugar daddy she's got. But I clapped back, posting on my company's official account how I won the lottery and scored $1 billion. Experts verified it was legit, no funny business. Those trolls suddenly felt like they ate crow, silently logged off. My supporters were thrilled for me. Now, my dad's crew was infamous, turned into public enemies. Scores of netizens even flocked to their live stream, just to roast them. As my dad saw the comments, he got so worked up he fainted. The next night, they didn't go live again. Some folks guessed maybe he'd kicked the bucket, but I don't think it's that simple. Sure enough, the next second, my phone buzzes. It's my mom calling. Emily, your dad's not doing well. He wants to see you one last time, saying he knows he messed up. You gotta come back. Already said they cut ties with me. Why suddenly want me back now? Something fishy going on for sure. I refused, saying, we're already done. His life or death is none of my business. To shake them off for good, I suggested removing me from their household registry ages ago. Even went as far as posting a formal statement in the papers. They handled all of it personally, so no baxes. Mom wanted to say more, but I wasn't having it and just hung up. Next day, on my way to work, I see my mom and aunt already parked outside waiting for me. They shout, "Emily, your dad's really not doing well. Just waiting to see you one last time. You can't be so heartless." They whined so loud it's like they were scared no one would hear them. It was prime time when everyone clocks in. The whole office building and passers-by started crowds gathering around. More people came. Mom and aunt got even more dramatic. One played nice, the other angry. My mom cried, "Emily, even if you don't want to come back, I won't blame you. It's us who owe you." While my aunt yelled angrily, "Hey everyone, come see, the dad's dying." This business-owning daughter won't pay a penny for medical bills nor even bother to see him one last time. Aunt tried to rally support. "Parents raised you. Isn't it fair to pay for their medical expenses when they are sick?" But guess they forgot they're internet famous. The whole internet knew they are bloodsuckers. Instead of sympathy, they got spat on. What mental hospital let these crazies out? Someone's gotta be keeping them on a tight leash. Aren't these the infamous folks online, smearing their daughter with lies, now asking her for money? Poor girl, finally successful, and now they want to bleed her dry. Seeing the plan wasn't working, Aunt dragged Mom to kneel before me. "Emily, you really gonna watch him die and do nothing? He's your real father." Of course fathers should be saved. If they are parents who wanted to kill their own kid, do they still count as parents? I looked up in tears and laughter. The big screen near us played a video I got just yesterday. Figured they'd pull something after hearing about my massive lottery win. That's why I hired someone to keep tabs on their every move. But I really didn't expect they'd go for the kill. The screen showed Oliver picking up a chair and slamming it down on my dad. My mom tried to stop him. She got beaten up too. "If it weren't for you promising me the house back then, I wouldn't have called you idiots, Mom and Dad, in the first place. Now the house is gone, and I have to pay your rent with what my dad left for me. Just thinking about it makes me sick." My dad was painfully sprawled on the ground, twisting his body. He kept coaxing Oliver, "Don't worry, Dad will earn you another house, no, 2 more. Seeing Oliver still didn't respond, he added, "I'll buy you a big villa, a huge one." "Son, won't you call me Dad?" Oliver laughed mockingly, as if he'd heard the world's biggest joke. You could barely buy the first house without your daughter's help." My dad froze. He didn't want to believe it. "No, that's not true. I earned it myself." "How could a girl possibly earn that much? She's just a girl. Girls aren't successful, they're disgraceful." Suddenly, as if struck by a thought, he tightly grabbed Oliver's pant leg. I thought of a way to turn Emily's assets into ours. A glimmer of light flashed in Oliver's eyes, his attitude taking a 180-degree turn, his voice coaxing. "Dad, are you serious? Tell me, what's your plan?" My dad sheepishly got up from the floor, trying to get closer to Oliver. Despite Oliver's disdain almost spilling over, he endured the disgust to hear my dad's scheme clearly. Next second, my dad's voice turned cold, like a devil crying blood. "We could kill her. Then, her mom and I could inherit all her assets, and then I'll use her money to buy you a big villa, lots of them. What do you say?" Even Oliver shuddered upon hearing this. "Do it yourself if you dare. I'm not touching that. Murder gets you the death penalty." But my dad was already deranged, squatting down, trying to get Oliver to sit on his shoulders. His mind must not be normal anymore. Oliver pushed him away, kicking him a few times. My dad got up and affectionately patted his head, promising, "Don't worry. Dad will handle everything. Won't let my son dirty his hands." My mom stared blankly at the man she spent half her life with, seemingly not realizing he could go this crazy for his so-called son. But she was already used to compliance, no longer had her own thoughts. So when my dad yanked her hair, ordering her to lure me out, she nodded. "These are my parents, my biological parents." I don't remember how I felt after watching that video. I just remember being so cold, so incredibly cold. The heat was turned all the way up, adding layer upon layer of blankets, and it was still freezing. In the end, because of my exposure, they didn't manage to do me any physical harm. Police found some potential crime tools in their house, ropes, knockout drugs, and a bone scraper. I can't help but think, if I didn't find out ahead of time, would I have ended up in pieces? They were only detained for a few days. Oliver knelt in front of the police, bawling. "It was all that old man's idea. It's got nothing to do with me." With his level of guts, Oliver definitely wouldn't dare come a second time. My dad was being held by another officer, sometimes sane, sometimes crazy, laughing goofily. "Get up. Dad will make money to buy you a house and wife." Oliver told him to shut up. He just kept laughing, like he'd lost his mind. The assessment results came back, showing that my dad indeed had mental issues. His obsession with having a son had surpassed everything else. I can guess why they didn't have another child. If it was my mom's problem, she would have been beaten to death long ago. It must have been his own issue, which is why he fell silent whenever the topic came up over the years. As for how his mind went wrong, maybe he was tormented by Oliver, or maybe he realized his son wasn't as amazing as he thought, yet refused to accept that. After so much torment, his mind finally broke. My aunt kept cursing me, wishing me dead. My mom just stared at me, unable to speak for a long time. When I was about to leave, she called out to me, her voice quivering with tears, "Emily, Mom is sorry." It was too late for apologies now. After the police took my statement, I still felt terrified. I decided to leave this city. When it came time to go, I found there was no one here to say goodbye to. For the past 20 years, I was always trying to prove to Dad that girls can soar high, just like boys. I never even had time to make friends. Looking back, I guess I failed. I often wonder, if I hadn't won that lottery ticket, would I have asked that question? Would I still be keeping that fragile relationship with my parents? Would I still be striving for that forever unreachable goal? Or would I have compromised, been their obedient, complacent daughter, living in self-deception, perhaps without this broken family? Later I realized, money is still more important. Years later, I was on a business trip in a strange city. Passing under a bridge, I saw two ragged old people hunched over, begging. The woman was pleading with passers-by for money, while the man, seemingly confused, kept muttering, "I have a son." When the woman couldn't get any money, she took it out on the man, hitting him. "It's all your fault, everything's gone, house, money, even our daughter." The man pushed her away in madness. "I want a son, I don't want a daughter." Wearing my expensive high heels, I walked up to them. The woman noticed me and paused, then quickly looked down, shaking her tin can. The sound of coins clinking in the empty bridge echoed. "Kind-hearted soul, please spare some change." Her voice began to choke. I took out 2 coins I had just gotten from a convenience store and dropped them in. The coins quickly blended with the others in the bowl, jingling. Who could tell who gave them? Just like how I and they submerge into the crowd, no one would recognize anyone anymore. I turned away, hearing the man chuckling foolishly. "Coins, my daughter gave them."